Welcome to Still Human, a biweekly podcast by Ocean Studio, featuring thoughtful conversation with builder, creators, and thinker working with AI in real life. Rather than focusing on hyper optimization, we explore how technologies affect our time, focus, creativity, and sense of self, and where being human still matter most. I'm your host, Perkin. Today, I am joined by Neil Gawande, a 20-year-old who founded 5 companies starting at age 14. He builds GPS tracker for seniors, VR fitness app, Web3 games, and now AI system that thinks for you. He's a third culture kid who grew up between India and Connecticut, a former national level wrestler who lost the championship by a single point, and he has synesthesia. He literally perceives code as color and texture. He once wrote an essay called No Place to Be, about belonging nowhere. Now he builds a world where he can belong. Neil, welcome to the Still Human.
How did you find that out?
I did a little bit of research about you. When someone asks you, what do you do? How do you even explain to them with like 5 companies you're doing?
Actually, well, there's 3 things, right? The first thing is I don't feel like I'm in a position to explain what I'm doing because it has not. That's more complicated emotion to explore, but part of me doesn't feel like I deserve to explain because it's not something simple enough for people to understand with a simple metric. Oh, it's a $1 billion company. Oh, it's doing this much revenue. Oh, it has this many, right? So that's one thing I struggle with. The second thing I struggle with is I think that when you are more creatively oriented and you naturally do and create many things, like you internally have a rational logic for it, but when you're trying to translate that to other people who are dealing with other kinds of problems, there's actually a huge translation error, which I'm not sure if it's strategic. You know what I mean?
So you were saying that what you've done in the past is way more complicated to just explain in a simple way.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Your creative side.
I feel like sometimes what I worry about for my own like emotional well-being is when you share something that you care deeply about with other people, you have to be sure that what you're seeking out of the exchange, where you're giving something that you're thinking about and working on, and what they're going to put into it, is actually a net benefit to you, the other person, and that idea. And I think that's a very complicated function to calculate. I want to build infrastructure for a post-scarcity world where humans can still derive meaning from their lives and from their experiences with other human beings. My fundamental worry is that technology, innovation, automation, capital, all these things are going to basically extract the essence out of human life. And if we don't think about the fact that these emergent systems that we're creating are actually different forms of intelligence that compete with the human form of intelligence, that we're literally creating our replacements. We're creating systems that control how we think, how we perceive, how we interact with the world. And if we don't design them properly, we will lose control. And the human species as we know it would not be in a good position. So I'm interested in developing technology in such a way where human flourishing at the individual and community level is the sole objective. That's my fundamental mission.
Like more on the human connection aspect and more on the community building without like having technologies to take over what do we do. It's more like the advent of AGI.
AGI is a big concern, but I'd say what's happening with AGI right now is really just an extension of capitalism on its own.
Mhm.
Like, if you look at what capitalism has done to the human experience, it's had tremendous benefits.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dispute that. And it's a net benefit. But I think slowly, and we're seeing this in developed nations, it's eroding the quality of human life at a very deep level.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
And here's the challenge. Genghis Khan, someone has quoted Genghis Khan, and this is a quote I really think about a lot. Genghis Khan has a quote, or he's quoted saying something, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, along the lines of, "For had you not sinned, God would not have sent a terror like me upon you."
Mm.
And basically, that goes along with the might is right
Can
justification.
you explain with that
Yeah.
quote a bit?
Yeah, let me explain. So that quote, "For had you not sinned, God would not have sent a terror like me upon you." What I think that paraphrase, assuming Genghis Khan said that, who knows what the hell he said, right?
Mhm.
But assuming he said that, basically he's justifying his ability, his conquering of you, his domination over you in a moral framework where might is right. Where if you can enforce and control reality, it must be that God ordained that. So, and if you really think about Genghis Khan's life, and what he had was a technological innovation.
Yeah.
Which was using horses, using archery, and using strategic military tactics. Like, these are all different forms of technology, right?
Yeah.
To go ahead and dominate and destroy and take over other groups of people who did not innovate and adopt the same technology. So basically, human beings are stuck in a catch-22 situation where you refuse technology, you refuse innovation. When I mean technology, I mean just progress in general.
Yeah.
Like, everything can be seen through the lens of technology. But politics, social groups, food, like, it's all technology, right? So, if you refuse technology, if you refuse progress, you are actually committing a sin against God. Genghis Khan might argue, because you're putting yourself in a position where another organism, which does adopt and make use of that technology, will eventually, due to the probabilistic nature of how game, like, you can look at it through the lens of game theory, of how certain strategies take over in the environment, will come dominate and destroy you, right? But if you lose yourself too much to technology, you lose who you originally were. And humans are stuck in this really awkward position where, if they don't adopt technology, their lineage, their essence will be destroyed. But if they do adopt it, they might forget what it even means to be human. And I think the central question I'm struggling with is, like, what does it mean to be human? Like, this pattern, this configuration of atoms and molecules I am. Like, what is that? Right? And is that something that I need to fight to preserve and take and continue on into the future? Or is it a pattern that will lose, just like how the dinosaurs got murdered by asteroids? You know what I mean? And Peter Thiel and, like, different kinds of people, like, they're struggling with this question, and I'm sure people talked about it. Elon Musk talks about it. Elon Musk is very human species.
Yeah.
He's like, we need to preserve the human species, and I would agree with him. So yeah, this is something I'm kind of wrestling with right now.
Yeah. Very philosophical approach to the original problems of what being a human actually meant, meaning.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. I have a lot of intake on that, but I'm gonna sit with that for a bit. You wrote an essay called "No Place to Be" about growing up as a third culture kid. You described being dressed and pampered like the son of the king in India, but not being allowed to drink the tap water because you're a Western Tommy. Take me back. What does it actually feel like belonging nowhere?
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot. It's one of the problems I care about, belonging, which is something I've struggled with my entire life.
Yeah.
I think belonging is a computational problem.
Okay.
It's basically you're a node with semantic weight, and if you think about like the physics of social organisms, there are people with your who would essentially vibe with you.
Mm-hmm.
But the question this goes back to the earlier question about like evolving with technology, but I can connect it later. Um like yeah, my entire life I've never felt like I've completely belonged at anywhere because I've also felt like I haven't been in a situation where people understand the totality of who I am in the different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a problem I struggle with, but I also think it's a problem other people struggle with. Um, and what I'm interested in doing, because fundamentally, I think it's a computational problem. Like you're performing this.
Mm-hmm.
This is work.
Mm-hmm.
This is work that is being invested into me by you.
Mm-hmm.
Our time is being invested in, and this is helping us understand each other.
Yeah.
And when we create this media,
Mm-hmm.
other people are also going to get a chance to understand it. But like
Right.
it's an infrastructure problem. It's a
Mm-hmm.
computation problem.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, this goes back to my earlier point. If you live in a small village,
Mm-hmm.
you have the opportunity to be understood by multiple people
Yeah.
at a deep level.
100%.
But at the same time, if you are in very intellect or very divergent, if you have divergent thinking due to the nature of biology and how it evolves, when you're in that small community, if you don't fit in, you will be ostracized.
Yeah.
So then big cities serve as the place where people with really unique intellectual tendencies can go into those environments and find their niche
Mm-hmm.
group, right?
Yeah.
So cities serve that purpose. But now when you're in a city, you lose the communal support and on the supportive environment of the community. Mm-hmm. If you go to the big city, you lose you get the freedom, but then you lose but now you're on your own, right? It's a little bit difficult. So again, go ahead.
You're trying to say it is more easily to get people aware when you're in a small village where like everyone know each other, but when you're in a big city, you have to figure out where you belong to. Is that what you're saying?
So when you're in a big city, if you think about it from a computation perspective, the purpose of a city is to create a high density, high proximity between multiple different agents, and then create a routing infrastructure, like let's say a subway, a town, that basically allows people to intersect with each other and find their belonging more efficiently. That's the purpose of a city. Digital spaces, for example, don't do this very well. Like right now, you have to produce a lot of content and go through a lot of work to help the algorithm identify who you are.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested in building is an infrastructure where the system understands who you are well enough and understands your intentions and matches you and dynamically curates human experiences that allow you to cross paths with other like-minded individuals.
Do you feel like you belonging when you're building out the thing that you really have a vision on it? Do you feel like you belong to where like the future gonna take you? Like, do you feel presence? Do you feel presence when you're building out? Do you feel presence when you know you're doing the thing you're doing? You know your life mission. You know you're doing the thing. Do you feel like being present of like trying to build something that you think truly matter?
Whenever I'm doing anything, there's basically like a 40-30% probability that my thought process is completely wrong, actually. Like even what I'm telling you right now.
Is that have to do with something like synesthesia? Synesthesia?
No, synesthesia is a little bit different. But I think like I don't really know. Like even whatever I'm telling you right now, like these moral frameworks about how I should combine.
Okay.
Like,
I'm gonna ask you this question might put in a position that you might feel vulnerable.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were cyberbullied in eighth grade. Instead of retreating, you put poster on your wall saying that this is home now. I'm kind of curious, what are those posters?
Wait, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Like you were cyberbullied in eighth grade.
I don't think I was cyberbullied.
Well, you mentioned that somewhere.
Where?
One of the I'm I
Did I
did.
write something somewhere?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think I was.
Was there something back then?
I think I was bullied, but I don't even think I was bullied in the traditional sense. I think.
Okay, no matter what is that, like
Yeah.
what is the poster on the wall that keep you going?
Oh, you're asking what poster I have in my wall?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I have a whiteboard in my room at home, which I haven't seen in months,
A whiteboard.
which I don't remember what it says, but like there's a few lines. Become metaverse billionaire.
Become what?
Become metaverse billionaire.
Okay,
That's one line.
that's one line.
And then the other question, which is, why is Putin evil?
Okay, let's not touch on that.
No, it's a question,
Okay.
right? Like, why is Putin evil?
No, that's not even a question. That's like giving people a identity. You're identifying someone as something. You're giving them.
No, exactly. No, so the question is like, okay, let's assume you have a proper definition for what is evil and what is
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Then the question is, does Putin fall within those categories, right?
Okay.
But then the second question, that same question asked,
Mhm.
is what is your definition of evil?
Okay.
So
That's very interesting.
so it's two questions in one sentence.
Curious, why is that sentence even on your board? How is that going to help you? Is that trying to just bring you to that mindset of thinking deep questions?
Yeah, I don't know why it's on my board. It's just it's something I'm confused
Okay.
about.
Um, so I'm kind of want to talk about the synesthesia. Your brain crosswire sense in a way most people don't. When you're architecting a complex system like the block, what you're building right now, what do you actually see and what does the code feel like for you?
The code feels organic.
Organic. Interesting.
It doesn't feel like discrete. It is discrete fundamentally, but
Right.
when you scale out, the way code evolves is very organic. And I've been trying to spend time understanding like information theory and information physics and game theory, and like looking at everything as agents and actors and emergent phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's very interesting. I'm witnessing my own code evolve, and I'm kind of looking at it like an organic living creature that I'm slowly blowing life into. Um, and if you think about like companies or anything you build, right? There's a birth stage, there's an ideation stage, which is you conceive of the object,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of draw an analogy to like the process of the birth of mammals, is the closest thing I can think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
You conceive of the idea, you give birth to the idea, you support and materialize the idea as it ages into a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Then it turns into an adult, and it's probably at like an optimal like trajectory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it ages, it develops cancer, and then it dies.
The idea, or
The idea, whatever you build, like everything you do, right?
why can't it be sustainable?
So that's a good question. So like the question is like, are you a animal? Are you a company? Are you a political organization? Are you a product? Are you a piece of software? Are you a piece of hardware?
Mm-hmm.
So the same constraints apply to every system. And basically, what happens is due to entropy, informational debt increases exponentially unless you're constantly working to to um to to reduce informational debt. But eventually, informational debt gets so high that it develops into a cancer. Um,
I have never touched on that topic before.
So yeah, I'm kind of drawing an analogy between shitty code
Yeah.
that is required to sustain the system, but at the same time is detrimental to its long-term
Mm,
survival and quality.
mm,
And then like biological systems.
mm.
So when you ask me the question, like, what do you see when you're building the block? I literally see a living thing that I'm trying to keep
Like,
alive. And the other thing is, I'm aware of the informational debt, and me as an individual developer, like, I can imagine what that is. But like, as the system scales, a big problem is going to be informational integrity, like making sure that the data structures that are within the system are refactored and put into a new evolution of the system that can be more sustainable. But anyway, hopefully the question is, can I build a system that can survive, but then also has an anti-cancer mechanism,
mm,
which allows it to keep on evolving?
mm.
Because the thing is, like, modern digital platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, whatever modern technologies you have, I think they don't evolve at the rate which is most beneficial. Like, if you really think about what any product or company is, it's an organism that adapts to the market fast enough to serve the market. So I think if I can build a system that does that, can evolve rapidly as an organic thing in a way, then you can build a product or a firm that outcompetes in the market. That's like
I'm very curious how you comparing the blog with other social media. What do you see what you're building is growing organically and how it's going to be more sustainable in the large scale?
right. Okay, there's three fundamental. I want to build the digital infrastructure that allows humans to remain free um, into the future.
How exactly is that going to be accomplished?
Okay, there's two things: remain free and also connect with each other efficiently. And then my fundamental belief is, once you guarantee freedom and you guarantee, yeah, if you guarantee freedom,
What's your definition on freedom?
my definition on freedom.
How is people going to be free? Is free like you being able to don't worry about anything, like
No, no, no.
materially?
Free is you are in control of your perception.
So we are not free right now. We are controlled by technologies.
Our perception has been lost to higher order systems. Um, and it's not Instagram's fault or
No, I
the
mean like it's the overall the world how since we are kids how we see perceive the world and it's kind of shape our perception as we grew up, right?
yeah.
And as technologies evolve, I feel like everyone will start, being affected by how digital progress or digital world shape you.
Hmm.
And how do you think that people, gain back the freedom, gain back how they perceive the world through your app or like through the vision that you see?
Okay, I'll give you a story, right? I
Yeah.
was at the airport
Mhm.
and I was flying back from California,
Yeah.
and in the airplane I changed my clothes and I got into pajamas, and I
Mhm.
had like really tight black jeans that I really liked, and some like a math book or whatever, and I was just carrying it in my hand. And then I like dropped it somewhere in the airport. I don't remember what. Anyway, I got outside of the airport,
Mhm.
and then I was like, "Oh shit, my favorite pants and my favorite belt. I lost it." And I was like, "Fuck, dude." So then I was like, and I already got to the gate baggage area.
Mhm.
So then I went back to like the boundary. I was like, "Oh shit, they're not gonna let me in."
Mhm.
So then I went ahead and talked to like the counter guy.
Mhm.
And basically I was saying, like, bro, like, please, that was my favorite belt, my favorite pants, my math book was there. Like, I really need that. It's like right over there somewhere.
Mhm.
And this fucking piece of shit was on his computer. He wasn't even looking at me. He was looking at me through the computer.
Okay.
Okay. He was like, "Who is this guy? What's your identification?" He never even looked at me, right?
Mhm.
And then he was looking through the database, the system he had, and he was like, your pants are in the system." Like, I know my pants are in the system. I dropped like 5 minutes ago. It's right over fucking there. All right. And this
Who's that guy? Is that
he's
someone from the airport?
some worker at the airport.
Oh, we're at the
Okay.
airport.
And some employee at the airport, right? And basically, like the airport's like is kind of like maybe not the best example because of the nature of how high security and structured it is, but fundamentally, this guy, his perception of me was hijacked by a higher order organism, the airport, which is intertwined with domestic and international politics and legislation. So, and that is a higher order system. And he wasn't looking at me as a guy who lost his pants. He wasn't looking at the situation around him. Oh, his pants are over there. Like I can solve this problem right now if I can literally just go get his pants. Right, this is right over there. So computationally, think about what's happening right now. His perception has been hijacked by a higher order system, and this higher order system is not serving my lower order needs. Right? If you stack that up over time across billions of people, across trillions of agents, across quadrillions of like systems and their interactions, what happens? Cancer, the foundation crumbles, the whole thing dies.
So let's bring back to the point where you say people losing human connection, people perceived by higher order, like people start working like a machine, like everything, like there's a system, everyone just like trying to get the problem solved, not
Yeah.
even trying to interact in a way that more like a human way.
Right. So like here's the thing, right? That airport, its primary objective is not to get my pants.
Mm,
Its primary objective is to make sure that the airport is secure,
mm,
and it's solving for another problem in a different state space, which is how do I make sure that a terrorist attack doesn't happen? How do I make sure that drugs aren't being smuggled? That's the problem it's solving for. And that's an important problem to solve for. And that's why there are these computational architectures where this piece of shit is not giving me my pants because he's looking at me through a computer. Right? If I had a badge or something, the system would say, oh, this guy's authorized. The fundamental thing about me, which may or may not be the correct strategy to implement, which is when you look at two different systems, take literally all of the good parts of all the systems and aggregate them, right? And spend computational work to integrate it, and that's the new system. So that's how I've always operated. Now, my question is whether that is an effective strategy. Like when you build any, I'll give you a simple example. I'm an Indian, right? And my parents immigrated to this country, and they were very poor when they came here, and they figured it out, right? And they created an amazing lifestyle for me. They did that with certain Indian values, or not even Indian. I'd say Maharashtrian values, like whatever the culture was, right? They had specific values, and those values in India have a certain effect in that environment. But for some reason, when they took those values and brought it to America, they actually did very well. A core tension between me and my family has been integrating American identity with Indian identity. And basically, if you really think about it, there are two different frameworks for living. And they have their own cost benefit. For example, America has very high degree of individualism, high degree of personal expression and creativity. And what that allows you to do is basically experiment with different ideas, and whichever are more successful, they pop out. That's why America has high innovation rate. But at the same time, it has increased high loneliness, income inequality, despair, like skyrocketing. Like because in the fundamental issue is yes, you get all this individuality, but you lose support, communal support. So what ends up happening is a very small amount of people do really well, and a lot of people don't do really bad, which is okay. That's what America's about, right? Like okay, in India, it's changing now because of the society is changing, of course. But from the time period my parents came from, it was very community based.
Yeah,
you had a strong community, they supported you, and you do really well. All right, you can survive. But the question is, can you take the community's capital and invest that into high innovation projects? No. And that's why other countries around America don't have that high innovation. So, and this has been a core tension as I grew up in America in an Indian family. And my fundamental solution is like, bro, there's certain strategies. You take the community support from India and you take the high degree of individuality. When you integrate these things, some things fall apart. For example, if I have a girlfriend that like the community doesn't approve of, right? Then like that's a contradiction. My individuality versus community. So you gotta figure out how to integrate these things, right?
Cultural shock. So you founded Salutus, right? Salutus.
Yeah.
At 14, a GPS tracker for seniors with a 6-month battery life that works in 51 countries. The mission was freedom, integrity, sovereignty. Why did a freshman in high school start a hardware company? Like, especially hardware, I know is the most difficult like entry point.
Yeah, especially in 2016. It didn't make any sense at the time.
Yeah. What makes you start that?
Okay, so the story is I was a seventh grader and I had a class project, and basically it was like some innovation class. And it was really fascinating for what they were doing in like some random public school in Connecticut, right? And basically the teacher asked us to come up with a innovation project. And I basically went home and my idea was I wanted to use Peltier technology to create a charger from heat.
Okay.
Okay, and then I presented the idea to my dad. And then my dad was like, "You're a fucking idiot. That's a stupid idea. Go kill yourself." No, he didn't say that. But basically, and then he said, "Why don't you create a panic button for like senior care?" I don't know why he just probably was having his own random thoughts.
Okay.
And then he just shared it with me.
Oh, my dad did that so much as well.
Yeah, so like anyways, I was like, okay, fine, Dad, I'll do that. So I took that just random idea, right? And no, at the time, my grandmother got assaulted in India.
Okay.
And basically, she didn't have anyone around her because we were all in America. She was alone. And I was like, okay, it'd be cool if she had a device. So this is 7th grade, 8th grade me. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm like figuring things out. And basically, the fundamental problem I realized at the 7th grade, 8th grade is that there are millions of senior citizens who don't have any infrastructure to take care of them. And healthcare is super expensive. And Life Alert, which was a device, costed like thousands of dollars per month to maintain and operate. And I was like, why is this technology, this piece of hardware, so expensive? It's just a button. You press the button, you call somebody, and then you call somebody and someone comes. So then I was like, all right, I'm going to innovate. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use MQTT technology for low bandwidth and low energy cost communication.
Wait.
I'm going to use
Can you find it?
I'm going to use position dead reckoning algorithm to basically make it so that the other thing about this Life Alert technology was it's a piece of shit. You couldn't take it outside of your house. So that means if you're old, you have to be stuck home all day, which is not good when you're old. When you're old, you have to be walking outside. Okay, and if you get a heart attack outside, you're fucked. So I was like, all right, so it needs to be mobile. It needs to be so easy to use that it's just a button. It needs to have like an infinite battery life. Okay, so basically, and it needs to be super cheap so that any guy can afford it. So this was my simple hardware idea. And at the time, I was like, okay, if I can do these 4 things and create a super cheap device, I can build something that a lot of old people can have. And then basically, as that's my entry point into the market, I can basically innovate and start offering different services to old people so that people can take care of them. So I was imagining like computer vision AI systems inside their house, which can like, observe them and make sure that if they fall, 911 is called. The other thing was the other reason why Life Alert is so expensive is because there's human people operating the call centers. So when there's a human person operating a call center, you have to pay the human person. Why not use AI? So, and there was an API even in 2017, 16, or I don't even remember when this was, but called Rapid SOS, which basically acted as an API layer between anyone consuming the API and 911 emergency services. So I was like, okay, I'm going to build on that. There's a few different hardware solutions to solve the battery life problem. You use MQTT protocol for communication, and you use position dead reckoning, so the GPS didn't have to constantly ping the satellite. It can calculate your position from your last known GPS ping, and then like
recalculate the distance.
Yeah, just position dead right, like basically calculate how much you move and calculate your new right. And then the other thing was like, okay, when you do press the button, like the device is basically in sleep mode, but then when you do press it in the event an emergency, you get put in call with somebody, and that might be a high battery, expensive event, but that you save your life and you charge your device later. So I'm trying to build that whole thing, and honestly, it was a complete fucking mess because I kept on mixing up like product market fit with what's the MVP, with the vision, and it was just like I was trying to integrate all these different ideas at once, and I failed because it was too much for myself to handle at that point.
I can't imagine a seventh grade high schooler dealing with all of those stuff. I I didn't even know what I'm doing when I was in seventh
Yeah,
grade.
and this is before AI, bro.
Yeah.
Like I was like, dude, it was so hard. Like you had to go these random YouTube tutorials,
You
random
gotta
Wikipedia articles, and you're trying to like fucking figure out
yeah.
like why is this wire not working? But I think for me, it was more of an opportunity for me to develop like the vision of the world I
Yeah.
wanted to see. And even with if Salutus was the wrong name, actually it was called OnePushCare. I don't know why I changed it.
OnePushCare.
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 And the idea was that, oh yeah, this was also during the 2016 election with Trump and Hillary Clinton, and a big point of contention was healthcare. And my perspective was that healthcare in the United States is a completely monopolized, cancerous system that doesn't actually solve the problem, and that if I create a company within the bounds of capitalism that provides better healthcare for cheaper, I can solve healthcare. Like I don't need the government to solve healthcare. Me as a selfish individual who wants to make a shit ton of money, if I innovate, create a service, create a set of technologies that makes healthcare affordable using AI and like interesting hardware, like smart software, I could solve the problem. And I was so frustrated with everyone. It's like, why the fuck are you asking Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump to solve the healthcare problem? Because
Wrong subject.
Because even if you do that, okay, yeah, we're gonna put $1 trillion into Medicaid and Medicare.
Money, right?
Where does that money go? It doesn't go to you.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to a guy with a broken leg or to the fucking ambulance bill. It goes to some corporate sales jockey who's like who has some nice contract with a lobbyist in Congress who basically said, yeah, put this in the bill. Put this in the bill for me, all right? And then they promise, yeah, when you give us this money, we'll offer these services efficiently to the people. But if I'm gonna offer, let's say I'm a healthcare company, I'm gonna offer you I'm gonna offer you a healthcare service.
Wait. I can pause here.
I won't give you the money directly. I give it to another company who then gives it to another company who gives it to another company. And then all the way down, when it comes down to you, you get $1 out of the original $1 trillion that was put into the healthcare system. So I just wanted to solve that whole thing myself.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like entire system, a seventh grade is trying to deal with massive amount, like big problem, big picture. It's like almost impossible. I have a question.
Yeah.
It's related to the perception that you mentioned earlier. Do you have that perception things when you are building out this company? That's the first question. And the second one is that I heard that you say about the emergency button, the thing that when you press the button, it's always have a person live catching the call when people press the button, and you're trying to replace that with AI. If back then you do have that perception, how do you think if that person get replaced by AI, by a computer, like it's further disconnecting people when you really need help, but it's a computer picking up your phone?
Right. Okay. So this goes back to like the original question: for had you not sinned, God would not have sent a terror like me upon you. The truth is that if you don't adopt technology, if you don't adopt AI, you and your entire lineage will cease to exist into the future. That's just the cold hard truth of the matter.
Who said that?
I'm saying that. That's fine. But basically, if you can't,
I feel like a lot of people would disagree with you.
no, I mean, if you don't, okay, I'll give you a specific example. If you don't innovate into AI and technology, some guy is gonna figure out how do I use robots to murder everyone you love.
Yeah. Even though I'm on the same page, I'm on the same side, but I'm trying to keep this podcast more neutral, so I need to fight against your opinions. I feel like people are gonna disagree with you about like how if you're not gonna to move with technologies. Because obviously there are still people surviving without using AI. Lots of
Yeah, they're doing perfectly fine.
yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's for sure. It's like there's people in the Amazon jungle that are living it up right now. But if you see what's happening to them, what's happening to them? A bunch of narcos are coming into the Amazon rainforest and killing them,
Mm.
and then planting like cocaine fields.
Mm.
Loggers are coming in, cutting down a bunch of trees. You like, yeah, you can survive.
I'm not even saying that, those like people without civilized, but like more on the
No, they're civilized.
well, like yeah, but like on the more day to day, like even in our school, we still see a lot of people they're not using ChatGPT, and then we're like they don't even know what is AI. We're like they refuse to use it. There's so many cases, and you see the school is obviously also afraid of like adapting AI into the curriculum because it's like obviously a new thing, and they don't know how students gonna use it.
And also completely requires a fundamental re-architect changing of how education.
Yeah, education system.
It just doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the question. We talk a lot of story there, and I think that's amazing for this podcast. People love to hear story. I study your venture, Salutus, the one you say what is called
OnePushCare.
OnePushCare, and then Ape Gum is that one thing? Ape Gum, Herculia, and One Ape, and the block. Most would call building across IoT, consumer goods, VR, Web3, and AI scatter. But I see a pattern: sovereignty, physical sovereignty with Salutus, digital sovereignty with Herculia and One Ape, cognitive sovereignty with the block. Do you like when you're building out those stuff, is that an intentional stuff that you keep reminding yourself that I'm going to build on this concept, build on this mindset? Is that intentional?
Yes. Like my fundamental, this is a big problem with me as an entrepreneur, right? Which might be the reason I'm not like at the level of other people my age that are much more successful than me, at least on a monetary level, is a thing I wrestle with. It's like, do you create a solution and look for the problem, or do you find a problem and find the most effective solution? And I think a pattern in my behavior has been I have a solution and I try to fit it to a problem. But I think the problem I'm trying to solve is not even clear defined. And like I've been wrestling with it in this conversation, right? Like, what is the fucking problem fundamentally? And I think the fundamental, like I'm getting closer to it in this conversation, is forcing me to think about it. I think the fundamental problem I'm trying to solve is how do I live in the best way possible?
For you as an individual or as a society that make most impact?
Both. Like how do I like if you like how do I make it so that everyone has a great, like, rich, savory life? And for that you need two things. You need love and you need progress. You need love from the people around you, and you need a challenge to wrestle against. And when you have those two things, your life is amazing. At least that's what I think. That's what makes my life feel amazing. And the question is like, how can I create that for other people? Yeah.
It's very like personal values, how you perceive like what's truly matter and like what you think a good life is, right? Everyone think it differently.
Right.
But I like your approach of thinking more on the philosophical aspect. Like,
but the thing is, I might be completely wrong.
Don't say that. No one knows what is wrong or right, not until the future, right? But at least you're trying to figure out what truly matter. From hardware to AI in 7 years, what's the next evolution?
What's the next evolution?
Yeah.
I think right now, I think while I was in college, I really developed my technical literacy, and which is basically my ability to comprehend technical systems. And that's why I invested in a math degree, because I believe that if
Have you always been a math person?
No, I'm naturally not good at math, actually.
Really?
No.
No, I really impressed with that. I really admire with that.
Yeah, a lot of people like think it's pretty cool, and like whenever I say it, people have this reaction to it. But it is cool, right?
No, I'm not saying like in math in general. I'm
Yeah.
saying like you're not good at it, but like you want to learn it and to make it better. The
Right,
mindset.
right. I think it's important for literacy. Like if you can read, right,
Mm.
then you can figure it out. Like you can read electronics diagram, a hardware diagram, an AI paper.
Mm.
I think the next step for me was okay. I figured out my technical literacy problem. Another question is how do I fix my human literacy problem?
5 companies, national level wrestling, a math degree at Seneca. You're 21. Something had to give. What nearly broke you?
What nearly broke me?
Yeah, and from your like past experience of building company,
Isolation.
isolation, the
Yeah,
disconnection.
that. Yeah, just like that's pretty like that's what I struggle with.
Mm.
Isolation.
I feel like at some point, as an entrepreneur myself as well, you feel that isolated. Like you
Yeah,
feel like you're working on your own, even though there's a community there supporting you.
yeah,
At some point, I feel like everyone have to gone through that isolation process.
yeah.
What's special about your isolation? Like what more than that aspect?
I think like what's special about my particular isolation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone deals with isolation in their own way.
Mhm.
Like not just me, like everyone fucking probably deals with this. And I think I'm not the only one experiencing this problem. I think everyone is experiencing this problem.
But you say like my question is what nearly broke you? You said isolation.
That yeah, that's the only thing. Like, dude, what do people really want in life? They want food, they want a house, right? Some amenities, and they want to spend time with other people. Like that's it. Spend time with like that's everything. All the technology you create, like all the shit you do, is just to solve that problem. How do I, first of all, not die, and how do I enjoy it,
Mhm.
right? And everything you do is trying to solve that problem at the end of the day. So like for me, like building technology is like, okay, I enjoy the process of building technology, but I also enjoy the process of like building it with other people and sharing it with other people.
Mhm.
Um, so I think if you're asking like what nearly broke me, yeah, it's just and also failure and like people judgment,
Is there
judgment. Yeah, people are judgmental. They're like,
no, that's an interesting take.
huh? Judgmental?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Give me one moments that feel like
judgmental,
yeah, just
judgmented. Judge, judgment is not a fucking word. I don't know. Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna say where. Oh, that's Sean. I'm not gonna say where, but I was like, whenever I'm like talking to my family, right?
Mm.
Not my family, just like people in my community, whatever,
Mm.
and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Mm.
You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
like, you don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm not gonna even try to explain it to you. Like, it doesn't. There's no point in me doing that right now. You know what I mean? Okay, if you really ask about what the block is, it's nothing but a personal AI assistant.
I know it's a what?
It's it's a social personal AI assistant, and the problem is ClaudeBot is kind of low key doing that right now.
So so you're trying to raise your app in a very philosophical or abstract way in order to not be like affiliate, like not affiliate, like
No. That's how I think about it.
okay.
Like if you ask me to think about,
But I think
that's my psychological problem.
yeah, the problem is that you
My-
have to see what actually similar to your same niche, right?
Yeah.
Like see what other people already built, and it might be similar to yours.
Yeah.
How are you gonna to stand out?
Yeah, I think okay. If I'm more like hands down, what the fuck I'm building? I started this version of the app like a year ago.
Mm.
It's basically you as an individual on a team of AI agents,
Mhm.
and these AI agents solve different problems, and then they go ahead and talk to other people's AI agents,
Mhm.
and then they try to help you in the real world.
Mm.
So I was building this out, and of course I'm an idiot and I failed and a bunch of other shit. And then ClaudeBot
Yeah, it's ClaudeBot.
ClaudeBot was released like last week, and it's free and it's open source.
How'd you feel about that? Is that
I think it's not a problem. I'll tell you two reasons. I mean, it's good actually because it kind of verifies my idea a little bit.
okay?
And the second thing is that's an open source software,
Yeah.
right? People in Silicon Valley are using it,
Mhm.
but like I'm like, okay, how do I get some like this guy who doesn't give a shit about AI to use it? Right? They're not gonna download ClaudeBot, set up their Mac OS Linux terminal.
So it's more on the marketing.
Yeah, and just distribution. And that's the other thing. It's like software. It's such an easy goddamn thing to do now for anyone that the only real differentiator between you and another person is, first of all, consumer experience. Like when they're actually using the product, does it make sense? Is it easy to use? And then distribution. Can you market it and sell it with people? So yeah, I'm there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like, but it's like
at least you give a concrete example of what you're building. It's
basically ClaudeBot for regular people.
Okay.
And I can say that now because ClaudeBot came out like last week. And I think I don't know what's going to happen with that. Yeah. It's crazy.
You've been like, since I know you, Neil, like you've been very, like in a way that very confrontational. And I accidentally researched all this, and you might say something back then. You say you prefer confrontational email over small talk. Is that true?
Oh,
confrontational, like email instead of small talk. You like to
confrontational email?
Yeah, like you like to,
confront people?
Yeah, confront people. Be bold and then just speak on your stance.
Yeah, but like that's not like the best way to go about things. Okay. I think like
you can skip this question.
No, I mean I think it's this question like how do you talk with people?
What? Okay, the question is that's the thing. When you confront people, what does that cost you in the relationship?
Dude, like even like I'll tell you, my father, for example, he's a very smart guy. He's a genius. Okay. He came to this country with $5 and he became fucking rich, right? Right. Okay. And he's old now, but it's like he figured that out. That's so impressive. And he loves people so much. He loves people.
I could tell. I have an interview with your father. You still remember?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He loves
He's so nice.
No, that's the funny thing. He loves people so much, but he can't express it. Like he can't express it well, okay? And he works so hard and he supports so many people, and he's the reason why hundreds of people, and by extension their families, so thousands of people are no longer in poverty because of the things he built, right? With his fucking mind. And and whenever he talks to you, like whenever he talks to me as his son, he has so much like valuable things to tell me. Right? And true things to tell me. Things that he's right about and I should think about. But the thing is, it's also painful to deal with those things.
What do you mean painful?
Like conversations with my father he's saying the right things to me, but they're also painful because it requires me to deeply evaluate myself and think really hard and confront my own biases and insecurities and yada, 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 and do something about it. Now, if that's every single conversation you have with a person, can you imagine how fucking difficult that is?
Would you say you kind of gained that personality from him?
Yeah, I had the same genetic tendency from my father. And I realized, like, you're right. Right? And when you care about and you love someone enough, like, you're not worried about whether they like you or not. Because it's not whether they
just want you to be better.
They want you to do better in your own life for your own sake. But the problem is when you're like that, when you're truly wired like that, and you don't care about the superficialities and what people think and everything like that. It's great. It's gonna work out. But then what ends up happening is that your circle becomes really small, really, and again, it's a computational problem. You might just end up being alone, bro. Everyone might just be like, okay, dealing with this guy. I'm not talking about my dad now. I'm talking about me. Okay. Dealing with this guy might be too difficult. Like, I can't fucking do it. Fuck this guy. Fuck him. I'm gonna leave him alone. I don't give a shit. So, like, even when you have the purest of intentions, if you don't package it properly in a way that And don't get me wrong, I'm a fucking idiot, okay? Like I make so many mistakes and like so many things I don't understand. But like my intention is pure, right? So like I think what was the original question?
Confrontational.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah, so like I realized like, okay, you gotta confront people, sure,
Mhm.
but you also have to be strategic about it. Like if you love someone and you want someone to do better in life and have just have like his problems like or her problems be better, like like solutions. You also have to think about like how do I actually communicate this in a way where it has a tangible result? And being confrontational is not necessarily the most efficient tactic.
Mhm.
So that's something I've like learned from trial and error over the last few years.
I think I'm learning too. Everyone is learning how to communicate better, and like communication always has been the key.
Everything,
Yeah, to everything exactly. So I think
That's
you're
what I'm
right.
trying to solve the block.
At the block.
Because I'm a moron, right?
Mm.
And like I was like, okay, if I talk to my AI agent about my ideas, thoughts, and my true feelings about people, the AI can spend computational effort communicating intentions between people.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
How does that make?
That's what I'm trying to solve. That's the fundamental problem.
Okay, I would put that perspective right there because if we keep talking that this podcast is never gonna end.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this though.
Yeah, no,
I like talking about myself, Perkin.
yeah.
Podcast? What a great idea.
Okay, so before we continue, I have a question passed to you from our previous guest, Andre Murray, a fellow student founder at Santa Clara building AI. He asked, knowing how the world is now, if you could go back 3 years in time, what would you build and why?
Mercor.
Macro?
Mercor.
What is that?
The data annotation company for ChatGPT.
Why?
Bro, I'm such a fucking idiot, bro. I was literally
No,
thinking. Anya's question is, what would I do 3 years ago with the information I have now?
Mm.
Build a more core,
Yeah.
which is it's basically just sell data to AI labs. That's it. I would be a billionaire right now, dude, if I did that. And I did it. And I was thinking about it too. I was like, wait, dude. All the internet, all the data on the internet has already been consumed by AI.
Yeah.
So that means if you want to make AI better, you have to make more data. So if you have to make more data, you have to pay people for more data. And I was like, that's an interesting problem. And I stopped thinking about it. And then this Mercor guy, these high school dudes from like around here in Santa Clara, or San Jose or whatever, shook hands with Peter Thiel, started this company, and now they're billionaires. Dude, their website is not that complicated. It's just a fucking matchmaking service between experts and AI labs. It's like it's trivial.
Who knows? Maybe the block is the next big thing.
Maybe it's fucking stupid. I don't know.
That's why it's a hypothetical questions. Like we never know what's gonna be big, but we always just follow our instinct and passion, right?
Yeah, I mean that's how I rationalize it.
I remember I want to bring up this book because you mentioned something I forgot what, but the book is from Peter Petio as well. It's called The Courage to Be Disliked. It's actually my friend recommended me to read.
Okay.
And I think it's very deep and very philosophical.
Yeah.
I'm gonna recommend this book to you.
What's it called?
The Courage to Be Disliked.
Okay.
The Courage to Be Disliked. It's a good book.
Watch this demo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell my store note. Perkin just suggested I read the book "Cursed to Be Disliked." So now this
can show the camera.
Yeah, show a little bit. Okay. So people are like, oh, it's just a ChatGPT wrapper. You're right. Okay. Just show this one. This one's better.
Okay.
It's like, okay, the AI. This chick remembers. So now here's the thing. It's a ChatGPT wrapper, right? Yeah. Okay. Whatever. But what makes us different is that the AI. What I've implemented that makes it different is the AI understands, okay, here's a note between Neil Gawande and Perkin. And the AI also remembers there's this common thread between me and Perkin. So now it's going to try to expand on that concept and nurture that communication relationship link between me and him.
Did you write all the algorithm behind this?
I mean, it's pretty trivial, but no. I mean, yes. But I didn't invent the AI or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's the question from our Andre. And then for you, if you could leave one question for our next guest, someone else navigating AI and what it means to be human, what would you ask them?
Whatever you're trying to do, what is the actual tangible physical outcome in the real world that you want? Yeah, that's pretty
Mhm.
much it. Like, what's the actual result, and what
Like
does that what
like quantitative impact you want to make.
and how does that improve your specific desired demographic to be improved? For me, that's humanity and civilization.
That's really big.
Yeah, but like for you, it might be something else. Might be dogs or whatever. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Okay. That's a great question, by the way. Um, last one is the signature questions I ask every guest at the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
As AI becomes more present in our lives and work, where do you feel being human still matter most?
And just moments like this, just hanging out with people, looking them in the eye. That's pretty much it.
Human connection.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be the key differentiator too. Like if you think about it, like no one's gonna give a shit about all the AI content on the internet. Um, and I'll give you a specific example. A peacock does not give a fuck when um who's a famous guy? Justin Bieber sings a song and wears like jewelry. Because it's a different species.
But
It's a different species.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? Like
yeah, you go.
humans are a different species than AI.
Yeah, exactly.
The
But
thing that's tricking us is that the AI is able to mimic the humans.
yeah, exactly. That's why like
That's what makes it fucking weird. Actually, it's tricky.
people can't differentiate AI and human-made content, especially AI become better. And then at the same time, some of the people actually enjoy watching AI content because they are entertaining. They see something they never saw before. And as long as there's someone trying to consume that kind of content, I think there's market.
Yeah, you're right. That is true. But I also wonder, like, whether there'll be a point where it's just like, I'm tired of this, bro.
Mm.
Like how many dopamine? Like, what if it's just a drug? You know what I mean?
It's another form of drug,
Yeah,
actually.
it's like, what if it's a drug? And like, don't get me wrong, drugs are useful. I love drugs. Coffee is a drug,
Yeah.
you know, and it drives certain outcomes. But I wonder if it's like, I wonder if eventually people will be like, okay, this is not valuable noise to me.
I think that's like human are designed to, you need that dopamine to make your life keep going sometimes.
Right. It's another thing that the block is trying to solve. It's trying to understand you, and then all these ideas and notes you give to it, it creates content from that for you to consume. And the idea is if you can link dopamine with your own products, like if you can, instead of scrolling through someone's TikTok and getting dopamine from that random TikTok, I scroll through like a project, plan, idea, thought, or something someone else thought.
Understand what trigger your dopamine.
Yeah, understand what triggers your dopamine for yourself. Because like for me, when I think about my app, when I think about a piece of art I'm creating,
Oh shit.
think about this, right? When I'm coding, I get dopamine, right? Right?
Mm.
So now the question is like, can I create an algorithm that understands what you want to build into the physical world and then create content around that? Not for you to buy something, but for you to go ahead and inspire you to do the thing, build the thing that you're supposed to build. And that's what I'm building fundamentally. Control your perception. No, not control your perception.
Yeah, bro, that's gonna be a bad glitch for the block, bro.
That's gonna. See, I'm just no, but see, at the end of the day, you have to choose the algorithm that controls your perception.
Okay.
The algorithm is either your own eyes, right, which is just one algorithm, the Instagram algorithm, or another algorithm. Because how much transparency does that algorithm have? What cost benefit trade offs are you making? So, in the free market, I'm trying to make an algorithm where the key value proposition is here. Listen, it's going to do its best to understand you, and then do its best to help you accomplish the things you want to accomplish in this world and connect with other like-minded people. And if you can modify and control perception and communication at scale, if you saw that for the individual person, think about the emergent consequences that will have for the entirety of civilization.
Mm-hmm.
If you solve the first principles, primitive problem of how do I make you as an individual function better, and then everyone's like, oh, this product's great, and then it scales to the like millions of people. That's what I want.
I see the vision. If you plan to find a co-founder, I'll join you.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a co-founder, bro.
Really, I'm looking for a co-founder too.
Dude,
Of the podcast shit.
huh?
With the podcast stuff.
What are you doing?
We'll talk that after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I need to see. You saw what I'm struggling with here, right? Communication.
Yeah. 100%.
Content quality. This is amazing. Look at these cameras.
Anyways, it's come to our ending for this podcast. Thank you for being on this podcast. And if my audience, I believe there's a lot of people who are interested in your work and what you're doing. Where can they best find you?
BVA House.
BVA House.
3230 the Alameda Road.
Come on, bro. The listener is all over the world. Where can they find your work?
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I have a business page. It's kind of shit right now. I gotta fix it. 18.x. This is so funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. 1ape.xyz. ONEAPE.xyz. That's kind of like the container I have for all these disorganized thoughts.
And then you got the app on the App
Oh
Store.
yeah, I got the app on the App Store. It's called The Blog, and it might not show up because the SEO is terrible.
I could put the link in the description.
Put the agentic brain. The Block, one word, THEBLOCK, comma, the agentic brain, and it should show up.
Okay, can you show the logo to the camera? The logo of the app.
Look at that. It looks like.
Okay, it's a hollow square.
Yeah, it's It's the impossible cube.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
for being on this podcast. It's been an amazing episode.